Hey guys, this is chess coach Andrew Rankin. Welcome back to Utah Chess Institute's Rapid 1510 games. We just got a pairing against Iolo. Let's wish him hello, good luck, have fun. And we'll dive right in. He's rated 2234. Over 1,400 games, or just about 1,400 games. We have a Caro Kann defense. Pretty standard 2 pawns in the center, but looks like we're gonna go into a classical variation. A lot of theory. There's like 14 moves of opening theory here. So yeah, we get the bishop out and then we drop back. He threatens to trap the bishop. We go here. He should push the pawn or play knight to f3. Knight f3 threatens knight to e5, so we play knight to d7. Pushes, we drop back, and now bishop d3, bishop takes, queen takes, and now we play e6, which opens up our bishop. So now we have queen and bishop checks, which is why he stops it with bishop to e2. Now we continue with knight to f6. I know there's also some moves with bishop to d6 and queen c7. These are kind of all moves that you're going to make. But knight to f6 seems the most logical. And he castles queenside. Now we can go bishop to e7 or bishop to d6. I'm trying to think what the difference is. I'm pretty sure the bishop belongs on e7, which, yeah, keeps the queen open. So bishop e7, king b1, and then usually knight here, knight takes, knight here, queen drops back, and then the queen goes to d5. So that's why the bishop goes to e7. It's because the queen wants this open, semi-open d file in order to go to d5. Queen e2. That's a very interesting move. What's the idea behind queen to e2? I guess the idea is to move the bishop here and have the rook on the open file, or the semi-open file. We play c5 here. I know c5 is a move. There's also just a5, a4, a3, which I know is somewhat inaccurate, but it actually helps you a lot in the endgame. And a lot of players aren't used to it, so they don't deal with it very well. A5, a4, a3 is always an idea. Because we don't have to castle kingside. I mean, if he goes here now, it doesn't make a lot of sense because knight takes. Oh, I guess the idea is rook here and then knight here. So a5, rook here, a4, knight here. Castles. Yeah, the idea is to get his knight to f5. And if I go queen to c7, then knight here after castles is even stronger. Or maybe this rook comes over so this knight can't take here after he plays rook to e1. Right, what do I do about that? I could play a5 and then just move the bishop to b4. He goes here, then that's a welcome sight, and then we can go here. And then knight here can be met with castles, but he still hits d6. No, we can take. No, because the king's open. This pawn is now a bit weak. We could play c5. I know that's a move. Takes here. Seems a bit dangerous though. Then he has like knight takes h6 ideas. So what if we castle? Rook moves here. How do we stop this idea? So part of me wants to just launch the A pawn, but I feel like after rook, maybe D over, then this idea is pretty strong. I could move the knight and then go queen to d5. Puts a lot of pressure on like weak squares of white's position. What's our goal here? Probably to trade some pieces. Here, 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 here. The problem is he hits a g7. Castles, but then takes. Seems a bit like we use up a ton of moves to do almost nothing. Let's go a5. See if he plays a rook to e1. If he plays rook to e1, I think I have to castle. And then if he goes knight here, maybe we just take it. Queen takes, rook takes, and then we just put a rook on the e-file. Our knights are guarding each other. The pawn on f5 is probably misplaced. Or sorry, the pawn on f5 is probably doing a good job preventing him from coming forward. We could always play g6, pawn takes, have not the best pawn structure, but the king can come up to g7. If rook f to e1, and then he doubles up, we can take, rook takes, and then drop the king over to f8, and it just kicks him out, so... I like that variation. White's whole plan is to launch a devastating kingside attack. Yeah, so he does go there. So the plan is knight here. So I'm thinking we just castle, knight here, pawn takes, queen takes, rook takes, rook f to e8, rook d to d1, rook takes, king f8. The rook has to move back. He can't go to e5 because the knight guards that square. He can't go to e4 because the knight guards that square. So we might go to e3 and then try and go over. But then I can play g6. Pawn takes. Not too worried about that. The king can always, king's on f8, can always hop up to f7. We have two knights against knight and rook. We also have this square. Granted, this pawn is here, but this square is still nice. Once the once the king's on f8, kicking the rook out, then we can go rook over to e8. So yeah, let's castle. And now knight here just forces a bunch of trades, which I don't think really helps white. Granted, this bishop takes h6 is always super annoying. Now he has this square. But the queen can't come here because of the knight guards. And this knight also can't really move because then he drops this pawn. In order to activate the g pawn, he has to move this knight. So the rook I don't think belongs on e1. I honestly don't think that's a very good square. Like, why attack down the middle when you clearly put your king over to the queen side so that you could launch your pawns on the king side? So why are you moving your rooks away from the king side? So knight f5. I'm gonna take it so that we can trade queens and then trade rooks, which I have a feeling he's not prepared for. Also, knight f5 I think just loses the h pawn, so I don't actually think knight f5 is a very good move. But what do you do? You're not going to play knight h5. Prepare the bishop sacrifice, obviously. Nope, he plays it. So this was the plan. Now just rook e8. Are we missing anything? Oh, I guess his bishop is on a5. Now we can kick him out, and after he leaves, we can take this pawn. We also have knight to e4. It's a bit annoying. Maybe it forces bishop here to guard this pawn. I don't think this was good for him. We literally played 14 moves of theory, and then his first real attack trades us into an endgame. Why would you set up 14 moves of a kingside attack and then immediately trade into an endgame where you're not even necessarily better? Like, these pawns are all weak. I mean, yeah, I have a weak f pawn, but I mean, you're probably just gonna lose your h pawn first. Yeah, so he goes rook over here. I'll just push a4. I guess you can put pressure on it, but then I have b5. Pawn takes, rook takes. That might be kind of weak. No, because the knight can always jump to b6. We just take the h pawn and then come back. I mean, you're literally like begging for sacrifices. Your pieces are like on almost open files. You have a pawn sitting on h5 and he trades into an endgame. But the evaluation went from plus 0.5 to minus 0.5, or even minus 1 when he played knight to f5. But let's not count our chickens out. These games are always really tricky. So clearly e4 is begging for a knight. So is g4. Now we have g6, but we have to be careful because it does undermine h6. I think we want to push and trade off this pawn, but he might just push b3, leave it on a dark square for his dark square bishop to mop up later. So maybe we leave it on a4, play b5, and then go to trade rooks. And then this is the only weakness we have, which maybe our king is able to defend. Can he attack c6 if it's the base of the pawn? Yeah, pretty easily with knight to e5. So we have to leave the knight on d7. Game's going to be really fascinating to analyze. There's a lot of lines in the classical variation that I want to analyze, just hypothetically, after this game. Now our opponent has to create a plan. So I'm guessing he's going to play rook to b2, sorry, rook to b3, and we can play b5. Maybe he tries to undermine it with a4. Then we could go b4. Pawn gets quite weak after we push the b pawn. After b4, maybe we can... Goes there. I guess the idea is that after here, he moves the rook and I can't defend this. So maybe we push. He moves the rook. And then we go g5. f4. He still can't go here, hitting the knight. So let's say f4, rook e4, g5, hits the knight, forces the knight back here. I guess the knight could come here. Yeah, and then we can't go here to guard our pawn. What about g5? No, because then the knight just takes that. So here... Here, oh, he moves the rook somewhere and I can just play king to g7. And then when he moves the rook back here, I can play knight here. And then the knight guards the rook, which can come over. But granted, I have to play a4 before I bring the rook over to e8. So g6. Rook can't go to e7. Rook g3? No, we guard that. I was thinking of him pinning the king after this and then having knight takes, but it doesn't work. So here, where's the rook gonna go? Ooh, rook here. And then king here. Knight a4, knight h4, what a nice move. Yeah, maybe a5 was a mistake because of the bishop hitting it. But even if he goes here, he takes with the... Okay, so g6, rook a3, King g7. G6, rook h3, king g7. Rook takes, bishop takes. He gets the ability to create an outside pass pawn. I can go here. We hit this pawn, and then we're threatening the check and then taking that. Let's go g6. Rook h3. Only move to win a pawn here. If he moves the rook anywhere else, king g7, and we're okay. These pawns are still weak, and these pawns are much farther forward than his queenside pawns, which are in front of his king. But I am worried about this, especially with a bishop versus a knight. Bishops are actually pretty good at escorting past pawns. Knights struggle, especially against outside, like A and H pawns. Oh, he goes there. That makes sense. I can play b5. Bishop takes here. King moves here. We can go to the center. I don't think I care so much about the H pawn. Especially because his knight's on the rim. b5. Bishop takes. I move here, check. I know we centralize the rook, but I can go here. Threatening to get to d5. That might be a really nice square. And this guards him from ever pushing here. If I go here, you just take that. I wasn't expecting a rook to hit b3. Alright, let's go b5. We always have this kind of stuff. b4 looks nice. Go king e7. Gotta plug my computer in. It's low on battery. These pieces don't give a very good impression. We also threaten like knight f6, rook h8, hitting both. I guess you could guard with this. No, because we could push this guy. Well, not if the knight's here, so maybe the knight has to reroute. I do like that these pawns are very forward, preventing his majority from pushing with success, like just taking space and threatening to create a pass pawn. I also like that these pawns are farther back. We have a 3-on-2. It's not the healthiest 3-on-2, but ideally we sink a knight into e4. So knight f6, knight e4 if he pushes the pawn here. And he's drop back to d6 and then go to c4. Threatening this kind of stuff. I would have liked his king to be on b1. It's actually good on c1 because it's closer to the center. I'm not sure how, instead of a5, which I know wasn't the right move, I'm not sure what the right move there was. Computer probably just says castle. I do have pawns on light squares, which is nice. So the idea is to sink a knight into a light square outpost, which controls dark squares, but is untouchable by the dark square bishop. So knights and pawns on light squares actually do a pretty nice job of pressuring a dark square bishop. The problem is always the king safety, because there's always checks. Because there's always so many holes through your light square pawn complex. The bishop actually has a nice, easy way of walking around. Or moving around the board. But I think I want my king on d4. Sorry, d5. I was looking at the c4 square, so that's why I said d4. But I think I want my king on d5. Super central. It does give his rook access to e7. So maybe he's going to go rook check. And then if I go here, he's going to go... No, he doesn't have this check. I was thinking he's going to try and get his rook to e7, but he doesn't have this check. So maybe he's thinking about bishop to g5 check. Hoping that I play like f6. And then I can't protect this pawn. Well, then I could go king to f7. That's not bad, actually. But then how does my knight get into the game? He just goes knight there. Now what about knight here? Bishop here? What about just king here? If he goes knight here, then I'll just take. So, yeah. King d6 was the idea. Because he can't ever play bishop here. Check. And if he goes rook here, I think I just go knight here, which guards this square. Oh no, my king guards this square, but knight here, threatening this. So yeah, king d6 looks nice. Then I guess he goes knight here. Pawn pushes. What about f6? Then how do I get this knight into the game? Knight wants to go to f6. He's gonna go knight here. So what about king f6? If he goes knight here, whatever. It's really hard to find a good place for my king right now. What about here? Here. 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 Oh, we also have this. Forces his bishop away, which means my king can go to f8. Rook here, check, king here, and your bishop's trapped. So you have to drop the bishop all the way back here. I move here. About knight here and then here. Knight here. What am I doing? I'm guarding that. Okay, that's important. So the knight can't move. If I go here, he's gonna pin it with the bishop. Knight here, I think. here, then I just go here. But then now you can trade off. I don't want to trade. But then I can go here. Here, here. Here. Yeah, let's go knight to f6. We gotta get our knight back into the game. Here we gotta break the pin. Then here, then here, then here. Then if check, then we block. Goes here. No, the bishop's here, so you can't play knight there. So he's fighting for the g5 square with too many pieces. I think the knight really wants to be there, which means I think bishop to d2 right now is a strong move. Then I can get my knight to the square that it wants to go to and control the g5 square. So he has to pin it, I think. And then I just move the king up to e6. Takes, takes. Knight moves here. Rook a6, that looks terrible. But that's his idea. Rook a6 maybe? What about king here? Check, king moves up. Then the knight moves here, but then my rook's free to defend that. I'm also free to attack his rook. King here. Bishop check, I'm not really worried about that. King moves up, attacking this. Now let's go king here. This is a threat. Forking the bishop and the pawn. Also controlling this square. Now if he goes knight here, knight takes, pawn takes, check, king takes, rook takes. Yeah, don't like it. He goes here, I kind of have to take it though, don't I? No, I could go here first. Taking the rook away. If you take here, check. I move here. Your rook is hanging and your knight is hanging. No, I'd have to go here. That seems like a blunder. Yeah, he does go there, but now I have knight here. You take check, I move here. Check, I can even take that. You still have two pieces hanging. You gotta play fast. Up here, we just take. Oh, he takes with check. No. Move here though. You take that. So what about just here? Here though, threatening this. Can't move the knight here. Back doesn't work. He takes the knight, I take his rook. Do you have any checks? No? Check, takes, 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 and he's got another piece hanging. I let his rook get active, that was a mistake. Now knight takes. Knight takes, pawn takes. Knight moves here, guarding my pawns. Nope, because he takes that. King takes, rook takes. Eh. But then knight takes. Yeah. We can trade rooks. I'm pretty sure it's a draw. Or we have winning chances with actually probably 2-on-1. So right now we just want to trade rooks. This check's not going to do anything. This check doesn't work. He goes here. I can go here guarding my pawns. And he has this check. And goes here. Takes, takes, takes. That's not good. F3. Need to get on this guy. We don't want to go here because of this check. We go here, takes, and then we go here. No, because the pawn guards that square. Here anyway. Then our knight gets trapped, so that doesn't work. So F3. Where's our knight going? Here, I think. To reroute this way, maybe? Oh wait, if he goes here and we go here, he doesn't have this check. What am I smoking? He takes. So now he's going to go here in order to prepare bishop check. So then we play king to e6, bishop moves here, knight comes here. Oh, if we could trade rooks, I think I could win against this. He goes there. I like to see that. Here, let's trade rooks. Then he goes here, but then I push. I don't have to worry about this pawn structure if the rooks are off, because he's never going to be able to attack it with his bishop. So then I can babysit this pawn structure over here with my knight and king, and potentially get my knight to reroute over here to win one of these pawns. Pre-move this. He's running low on time. Rook a7, we just play a4. King moves there. Or sorry, rook moves there. That makes sense. Can we trap his bishop? I'm gonna go rook here. It goes there. I'm just gonna push a4. I could have played knight here. He's got to be careful he doesn't get his bishop trapped. He goes there. I could push here. No, because he can take and then take the knight. What about just this? Nice and central, always able to go around. like this. This is nice, very nice. Creates a lot of tactics for knights to jump. Now we have this. Rook takes, pawn takes. Put the knight in here. Where's he going though? At least it stops this. Maybe we just go rook here first. Get the rook over here maybe. I don't like that my pieces are all on. Let's go here. The knight is beautifully placed. I don't like that it's on a dark square because he can move his bishop away and threaten to take it. If he moves his king to a checking square, I can go here and set a little trap. I can go here. Check. I think we have to take that. I'm gonna go here and then here. No, he goes there. The knight guards it, so I guess the idea is this, but then he loses the bishop. Oh, let's go here. He's going to come defend the bishop so that he can play c4. Oh, he just goes back. That makes sense. Now this square is guarded. He pins the knight. I think he wants a draw. Centralize the king. I don't like that my knight has no forward squares. It's kind of annoying. I guess he's gonna trade and play this here. Pawn takes, pawn takes. No, because then knight takes with check. Okay. Actually, I might have let him trade into just a winning endgame here. Check, but then I can go here. Endgame looks pretty good for him, actually. Go here. We can always go to d5. Give ourselves more tempi. Like if he checks, we can go to d5. Versus if we go to d5 and he plays b4, then we can never leave. Three on two, though. We might have an opportunity to create an outside pass pawn. Distract his king, gobble up these two pawns, and push. It's gonna be tough. So now we cut him off. If he pushes this, I'll just play f6. Don't have to worry about him taking because we can take back. 3 on 2 is very useful. Takes, takes. Jack, he gets in. I move here though. He takes. That's just a draw. He can move forward. What if I go here though? Takes here. Here. But he always has the 2-on-1. I take, you push, I take, you take. I move here, you move here. I move here though, which cuts him off. Yeah, this is our best shot. Takes, 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 takes. Moves back. He takes. We can go here now. Push forward. We take with check. That's not helpful. So here, 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 here. The good news is that he takes when he's on the C file. If he was on the B file, I think that our king would be overloaded. So takes, 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 pushes. We go here. Takes, takes, we go here. It should be a draw, I think. If anything, black might have winning chances. Because we have the 2-on-1 here, and he's got split pawns. And this pawn's not going to make it. And if he ever pushes, we can make a pass pawn and defend it. Here, no, so we have to go down here, here. We get opposition. We always have f5, g4. Now we have the 2-on-1. Here. It's a guaranteed draw now, I think. After f4, f5. If he pushes, I go here. If you move here, I'll push here. You take, I take, and I'm gone. So yeah, f5. Have to go grab it. You move there, I move here. Now isn't the pawn just gone? No, takes, takes, and then king there, and it's a draw. Good game, well played. Oh, our first minus points, -6. But as black against the classical variation, it's always interesting to see. So let's go back. That was an interesting game. So this is all theory. Oh, queen c7. I didn't know you could play queen c7 here, but I'm pretty sure e6 is the move. Bishop e2, knight f6, knight g to f6, castles, bishop e7. We talked about how we want this d5 square open for the queen, because this is the move. Knight e4, this is the variation. Knight e4, knight takes, knight f6, queen e2, queen d5. Let me just double check that. No, you wait until king b1 to play queen d5. A5 now. That's interesting. Queen d5 is met with c4. But these are the kind of things you want. Yeah, and then you play queen to e4, and then you trade queens. And white is left with weak pawns, more space. Black is left with the best pawn structure, less space. But the pieces are traded off. It should be pretty good for black. But he didn't do that. He played queen e2, and yeah, I came to this conclusion much later in the game that just castling is best here. Played a5. Computer says it's okay. Now we castled. But now this pawn ended up being a weakness. But I guess it didn't matter because his plan went rook b3 and he still hits a weak pawn. So computer, yeah, says to take, take, take. Ooh, don't take. Just play knight e4. Take, take, rook here, rook there, take, take, king f8. This was everything I calculated, and now we took here, and he played knight here, which I thought was super clever. Computer wants f4. We did calculate this, but I didn't see how I could defend the h-pawn after g5. I guess you just don't move the knight. Oh, interesting. b5 is probably what I would have played, and then when he moves the knight back, now we reroute our pieces. Oh wow, that's so devious. Do we push? Yep. And black's got to create counterplay because this is going to win a pawn. Huh, that's interesting. Super interesting game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. I found it very educational. My opponent played fantastic. Good on him. Let's check the computer analysis, see what our centi-pawn loss was. I bet both sides played pretty well. Oh, I guess we can go through the endgame. Yeah, we should definitely go through the endgame. I forgot about that. It looks like we had some winning chances there, and then white was completely winning, but missed it. 30 average centi-pawn loss, not bad. Let's jump ahead to here. We put here. It wants b6 there. b6. Oh, makes sense because it guards the a pawn. Now he takes with check. We go here. Here again, it wants f4. So I guess knight here was a mistake. Check, but we move up. Take, take. We take here. He moves there. We move here. So it doesn't like king takes. It says that's a blunder. Gives him a pawn advantage. We tried to trade rooks here. He declined, probably pretty smartly. I think if we traded rooks here, I would have been much better. Ooh, it wants to go here. And then after here, we probably just guard with the rook, and then we just win the bishop. No, because he can always go here. I push the pawn. Check was a blunder. But we were both pretty low on time here, so please forgive the mistakes. The problem is that my knight could never get to these key squares. Oh, knight here. Rook takes. Ah, finally, yeah, getting the knight in. I looked at this move, but I didn't want to trade the knight for the bishop, but I guess here it's good. Because the rook gets super active, of course. Yeah, that I missed. I would have found that, I think, if I had more time. That knight here was forking the king and the pawn, and then if the bishop takes, the rook takes, and then hits this pawn. And if the king comes up to guard it, not sure what we do there. Maybe we just drop back to e7. Here is completely losing endgame, so that was a big mistake. So where did my opponent blow it? He blew it with g4. And we correctly assessed that bringing the king over was good. And now it's just a drawn endgame. Yeah, he catches the pawn and we draw the game. So we both made a few mistakes. Very educational, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Take care. Bye.